And hello everyone, it is Peter Sam, the Narrow Gauge Engine here, back with another video and another viewer ranking video. This time we're on season 2 and once again I am not alone. You'll have seen this individual on the channel before voicing Percy, Toby and Donald on locomotives. It is Juarez the Ivor Engine. So Juarez, have you got any predictions on where certain episodes will end up and where can people find you?
Yes. Hello, everyone. I am Thwaris, the Ivor Engine. As for predictions, uh, okay. So I have a feeling. I already know what's last.
Yeah.
Due to like everyone's opinions on it. And like as for I think I know what's gonna be like in the top two spots. The only guesses to which position they're gonna be in.
Yeah. So you have a guess on what's in the top two, you just don't know which way round it's going to be, basically.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Okay. Right, well, I think it's just poignant to jump straight into it and to start right at the bottom. In number 26, it's the obvious one, isn't it? It is Better Late Than Never.
Yeah,
With
of course.
152 points on the board. You had this ranked in 14th place. I need to know, what is it about this episode that makes it halfway up the list as opposed to right at the bottom like most people had it?
Yeah, so now okay, so a lot of my points, yeah, it's pretty much like what everyone like says it is. It's pretty much, it's not got much to go for like in terms of like other stories. But honestly, like with the parts in it, it's actually kind of an underrated gem if you kind of look at what is in it. Like we got Thomas and Bertie's rivalry slash friendship. We've got a pretty good use of railway practice, something that like rarely shows up in the show itself. What else we got? We got a bit of Thomas's growth. So like compared to Thomas and the Guard in last season, where like he was cross at Henry for being late because of his illness. Now Thomas is just annoyed at the fact that that everyone's late. And it's like, yeah, he can't help that fact, but it's like he kind of hopes that like they can make up for lost time afterwards, like when they're crossing the viaduct. Um, I I think what also detriments its place and like why everyone puts it in last place is because of where it is placed in the season. Like if you look at the episode orders, it goes from a close shave this episode and then breakdown. It is literally like squashed between two very important episodes, which is the finale of the Duck and the Diesel Engine saga and the beginning slash introduction of Donald and Douglas.
Yeah, I didn't actually think about that. It is sandwiched between two really good episodes. So yeah, that is kind of a factor. For me, I think the biggest thing that sort of makes it very weak is just the two characters we have here. I'm not saying that the Thomas and Bertie dynamic is bad, but when they're both unlikable and just kind of like dicks, I don't see myself rooting for either one. And that is sort of what just makes it end up down at the bottom for me.
Yeah, I can see that, but then again, it's like again with Thomas and Bertie's rivalry, it's like they do like go against each other very well, but even so, like when it comes to like passengers, they will help each other no matter what, which is shown very well here.
Yeah, that is true, to be fair. And as much as I do think it is the weakest, I still quite like the opening. I think the opening bit with the viaduct, I think that's a pretty strong part of the episode.
Yeah,
And there are
no,
aspects to like. Let's move on to number 25 now. I think
yeah,
this episode is... there isn't actually much to say on it, to be fair. I'm trying to think of things, and I can't. It mixes two unlikely characters together, pairing them up against each other, and just showing them interact for an episode. It is. Thomas and Trevor, 174 points on the board. What are your thoughts on this episode? You put this at number 21.
Yeah. Honest, yeah, I'm kind of in the same boat of like what to like say about this because it is like two unlikely characters like interacting with each other. But that being said, it's a nice episode. It's a good segue episode from Edward's episodes into Percy's episodes because we got the link of Trevor from Edward's stories into the harbor, which is sort of in Percy's stories. Um, I'd say honestly, I I honestly think one thing that could have like been fixed was like that initial meeting with Thomas like coming in. He like I think they forgot to give Thomas his like puzzled face.
Yeah, they gave him the wrong resing face.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, because it was like the dialogue is like Thomas was puzzled. It's like, then why is he happy?
yeah, that's true. All right, which other characters do you think Trevor would have good dynamics with in the franchise?
Ooh, that's honestly good. I would, I could honestly say, Henry and Trevor would be an interesting cut, like because if I remember correctly, we only saw that like for 2 seconds, but that was like in the hit era. It's like whatever. Um, but yeah, no, honestly, like if had Trevor had a little bit more time in, or had been in Henry's Forest, I could have honestly seen nice little wholesome dynamic between Trevor and Henry.
Yeah, I think the obvious choice for me is Trevor and Oliver. They have sort of the same growth of character from becoming a engine or vehicle marked for scrap to getting to have a new life, a second chance. So I think that dynamic would be really interesting to see.
I can kind of see that, like
Yeah,
one being more like pompous and sagacious over the other, who's like thankful that they do have a second chance in life.
yeah. All right, number 24 time. This episode you ranked in 20th. It is the introduction of the first ever female character in the show. It is Daisy. 220 points on the board. What are your opinions, Doris?
Um, so honestly, compared to Mavis, I just don't really connect with Daisy as much. Like she's got a good character, being like this very sassy little lady. Her theme song is just catchy all the time. I think in terms of this episode, it's like, yeah, we do get like to see her growth in like well her character portrayal in this episode, but honestly, like if this episode was like about like James or Gordon, then it pretty much would not have like stayed this. Like, it pretty much would have stayed the same. And it's just like I don't know. It's just sort of a it's an okay episode, but I feel like it just doesn't do much in terms of representing Daisy as a different character.
Yeah, I have to agree there. I mean, it's not just that for me. I think the ending of this episode is really weird. It just feels like it cuts off and then the credits start playing, and it's like, oh, okay, we're done now. It just feels
Yeah.
very jarring in that sense. My question to you is, should this episode have been combined with Bullseye's to make it better, maybe?
Um, I I'd honestly have to say no. I feel like Bullseye. I feel like Daisy is like better off being a separate episode from Bullseye's, which I'll actually talk about when we get to a particular episode that I ranked as my least favorite.
I cannot wait to
Uh,
talk about that one. I'll tell you that for
yeah.
free.
But my I actually have I had a question. God, what was it? Oh yeah. Would you rather would you rather resin faces better on Daisy or Boko?
Would I rather have a resin face of Daisy or Boko?
So as in like the whole story behind like the reason why we never see Daisy and Boko in the same place is because they have the same resin face.
Yeah.
Would you think it'd be better if they did have an episode together, or if sorry, I'm mixing my own words up.
It's okay.
Which engine do you think fits the faces better?
Fits the face better. Oh,
Yeah.
because I think Daisy's CGI face changes more. Well, Boko's not in CGI, but you know what I mean. Like
Mm. Yeah.
there's distinct difference. I think Boko suits the face more. I think because I
Yeah.
think the change that they did in CGI, the minor changes for Daisy's face, I think they suit her. So I'd
Yeah.
have to say Boko in that regard, definitely.
That's fair.
What about you?
Um yeah, I'd also say Boko is a better fit for the faces. I one thing I will say just before we continue that I just thought of is like she because she is actually kind of sandwiched between Diesel, who's like the definitive like bad guy in this series, and Boko, who's pretty much like a good guy. Like the fact that Daisy is like in the middle kind of lines up pretty well because she shows both sides of, oh, she's like on like the bad side, but then she realizes, oh, hang on, like like engine the steamies are actually good guys.
Yeah. All right, number 23 time. And this is an episode you put in number 22, so it was pretty close. And it is the first, I guess, proper episode that really focuses on our number 6 engine in this season. It is Percy
Hmm?
and the Signal. What are your thoughts?
Um, so uh, honestly, like I like the I do like that Percy gets his comeuppance with the fact that like like he's still young. He's still like, oh well, quote unquote young. We don't actually know how old he is.
He's 106. He's old.
Yeah. Um but yeah, I do like that because of like how Percy's portrayed with this like childish naivety. He doesn't like fully like he still doesn't fully understand how a lot of like different signals work. And it's like, and like I do agree with the unlucky tug that like Percy is basically childhood well, childlike wonder. And so I do like that for Percy, but in terms of everything that plays out, there's just like a ton of episodes better than this one that I'd personally rank higher, which I have.
Yeah, for me, it's just very simple. I mean, we get to learn about signals, which is great, but all in all, it's just a very sort of their episode. There's nothing too, like, powerful that happens that makes you go, oh, this is one of the best of the season. Well, that's just my opinion anyway. Uh, for my question for you, Suarez, who is the superior trickster in this episode? Is it Percy or is it James and Gordon?
Uh, I'd have to. I'd honestly have to say Gordon and James because, like, in terms of in terms of Percy's jokes, like that they were just like, well, in terms of Gordon, in terms of the joke on Gordon, it was just mild in tenure. So I'd say James had more reason to prank Percy into the signals than Gordon did. Even the, but because Gordon being a little kiss ass and not wanting to do trucks, then yeah, it's understandable why he'd want to ruin Percy's chances of pulling trains.
Yeah, for me, it is. I think it is Percy. To be fair, I just think that that trick on James is really good. As much as the Gordon one, it is very mild. I do really like his trick on James there. I think it was
Yeah,
very smart.
Because there's also the fact on that one that like he kept James in the shed for like what's assumedly like the entire morning,
Yeah, like
make
a
it
few
making
hours.
making everyone else do his work instead, which rightfully so pissed everyone else off.
Yeah, it was sort of like collateral in that sense. Like it was a prank on all of them.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. All right. Number 22 time now. This is the first episode of the season, sets up the season sort of long arc of the feud between Thomas and Percy. It is Thomas, Percy, and the Coal. 282 points on the board. What are your opinions on this episode?
Um, it's okay to open the season. I think it's definitely a good way. Like it because like it's about Thomas. Like the show's about Thomas. It obviously makes sense to be the first episode, but in terms of the order of the episodes, this actually feels like it's a better closing episode for Thomas and Percy. Because this is like in terms of this episode, it's like oh they've got like a really good friendship by this episode, and by when we get to series three, their like friendship is like so in sync, and we see that in episodes like post train. Um, sorry, I've got a really bad cold.
Oh, it's okay. We
Um,
suffer for our art here on the PSI
that's
channel.
it. Yeah, you're extremely tired. I'm quite sick.
Yes. The holy
Um,
duology.
that's it. Um, but yeah, no. I it's definitely a it's also like a good representation of like the Farquhar trio at that point in time. Like their character dynamics. Like with Thomas being like just a pissant at Percy. Percy is like taking it full force. Like he like as in like he actually took offense to the prank, whereas like Thomas was just like annoyed at it, and Toby was just like, "Oh, I'll just let them do their own fucking thing. I don't care."
Yeah, Toby's just vibing in the background. So
That's
real.
it. Yeah.
All right, my question to you, Suarez, is if you were a steam engine, would you rather be coloured blue or green? There is a correct answer. I'll wait.
Um. Ooh, if I were to be colored blue or green, I honestly, I kind of go for green as well.
Yes! Thank God. Peter Sam
Because I'm,
wins.
uh, yeah, I'm just looking at my model now. I'm just thinking like, green honestly would work a lot better on an Ivet than blue.
Yeah, I can see that. Anyway, number 21 time. This episode, I think we both ranked really high. You had it at 8. I think I had it at like 6 or something, or 5. So we
Oh
are
yeah.
both here to defend this episode. It is the runaway, 311 points on the board. Your opinions, please.
Okay, so as okay, surprisingly, as the if I remember correctly, as the only episode that doesn't actually have any moving shots, it's pretty decent in its camera movement. The the runaway, I, if I'm gonna be honest, I, I feel like I only ranked it higher mainly because of the duck side of things. More so than Thomas, because like we we barely like get a runaway. Like we only see the beginning of it and then the end of it when Harold's just like chasing after them. Like if they like actually bothered to make more make more scenes of like Thomas being a runaway and Harold just chasing them. Like I feel like that's what a lot of people I feel like that's why everyone's like ranked it as low as it is. Like we didn't actually get to see a runaway.
Yeah. Um.
Um,
Yeah, but I think the large part of the episode that's like the most attractive bit is the duck bit because you get to see him in a location that we haven't really seen him in before.
that's it, yeah.
Yeah.
And Okay, question. Would you like looking more at the duck side of this episode? Do you think this would be as good of a starting episode for the Duck and the Diesel Engine saga against domeless engines?
Who? God, that is interesting. No, maybe no, because I don't think Dux is present in this one. I think because Duck is he has more of a role in Domeless Engine, so I think it feeds into it more. Whereas this, he just sort of dicks about for a bit and then fucks back off. So I'd have to say Domeless Engines, I think is the better beginner for this. My question to you is, which other location on Sodor, it can be across any part of the franchise, would it be cool to see Duck travel to?
Um, hon- honestly, and like this is kind of going for pretty much like every other character that works on the branch line, Farquhar.
Yeah,
Because like we like every single time we've seen Farquhar, well, at least the station at least, we've only ever seen Thomas go there.
yeah, that's true. Oh my god, I just realised that. Wow, that's
Because
weird.
like there's tracks to like Olsted via Farquhar, yet we never see engines like Percy or Toby go by.
Yeah, that is true. I think for me, Blue Mountain Quarry, maybe. I think that'd be interesting. Or maybe that's just me trying to get the narrow gauge engines in on something again. I don't know. Either way, number 20
Oh
time.
wow, yeah, Duck really has never gone to the Blue Mountain Quarry.
Yeah, he's not. It's it. I just like a lot of characters haven't really gone there because for some reason we got neglected. Oh well,
Yeah.
sad
Oh.
times. Someone give me a violin. Anyway, number 20 time. It is Cows. 316
Hmm.
points on the board. You had this as the second worst episode of the season. Why is it down that low for you?
Um. Honestly, that's the reason why it's that low because like it's not a bad episode by any means. It just really doesn't do anything. Like that that's honestly kind of like how it went. Like as I was going through, because like how I've been doing it is I've been watching episode each by each and then just like putting them down into like wow I feel like it'd go best. Cal's just like kind of went further and further down as like I kept watching. I was like, wow, yeah, it really doesn't like do much compared to like every episode above it.
Yeah, I think this is just a very chill episode that again it doesn't do much. It just sort of exists and it's all right. It's not offensive or
Yeah.
bad, but it's just there. What is there to say on this episode really? My question though for you is would this TV series adaptation been better suited for the CGI series of Thomas?
Oh, that's a good one. Um, I'm not actually sure really, because it was like I watched that fan video where they I can't remember who exact it was either Mainland or Rydriden who did three steam engines gruff but with Edward Gordon Henry instead,
Oh,
and it was
interesting.
basically like a continuation off of this episode,
Oh,
and I felt like I felt like that felt like it could have been like a better version than what on the actual show.
yeah,
So,
interesting.
do I think cows in particular should be a CGI episode? No, I don't. But I do think that fan episode definitely would have made a good CGI episode as a and like considering it was like a series 20 episode, it was like full of like references back to like the classic era in the books. So you
Oh,
know,
okay. Number 19 now. And you put this in 13th place. I think I put this in 10th. So again,
mm.
gonna have to do some defending here. It is Woolly Bear. 366 points on the board. Why is this episode in the top half of the list for you?
um, I Okay. Words. Um, I'd say that this episode's actually pretty good because like it's the sequel because it's like the sequel to Ghost Train. It's like Percy gets his comeuppance from a recent prank that he just made on a colleague, and um, not to mention like a lot of the music used in both Ghost Train and Woolly Bear. It's like uh they're pretty much like yeah, like they are pretty much the same themes, but it's like how they were used were done pretty well. Um, that that being said, it's like it has like moments in it, like Thomas roasting Percy, Percy getting the trickle on him, then getting the hay stuck on him, and then Toby and Thomas making fun of Percy. Like they feel like they're separate events in a story, and then everything around it just kind of feels like it takes a bit too long to get to those points.
Yeah, I think for me it is just a good sort of pseudo sequel to Ghost Train, where it's Percy getting his comeuppance and his um, sort of karma instilled upon him. For me, that funny line where he says he was still sticky when he puffed away. That makes the episode for me. I am
Yeah,
awful. I am the worst.
I remember because I think last week I was actually watching both of our versions of
Season
the
10.
nutshells.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I use that.
Yep. Uh,
Good times, good times.
Good times. Yeah.
All right, my question for you is: on the whole, as two separate characters, do you prefer Thomas or Percy?
Um, I would have. Ooh. I. Ooh.
Someone play the countdown theme in editing, please.
do
Ooh,
do do
doo, doo.
do. I'd have to say probably Thomas. Like as like as much because I actually just watched the retrospective early this morning. The and the thought of like Thomas's character has just like been stuck in my head for the entire day.
Yeah,
So
I haven't watched it yet. Guys, I'm sorry, I'm a fake fan. All right.
yeah.
Number 18. It is the Christmas episode of the season, the final one, the one that comes after this one. It is Thomas and the Missing Christmas Tree. 375 points on the board. You put this in ninth. I think I had this in eighth. Why is it so good for you?
Um. Uh. I just feel like the situation that like Thomas gets himself stuck in, like it's I suppose as composed to the last one with series one, it's like instead of him saving someone, it's him needing to be saved. Um, and so like when Donald and Douglas comes to the rescue, like they already know how to deal with snow, and so they're like able to easily get Thomas rescued quite easily. Um, the I think I've actually just looked at the photo now. The fact that Harold has a Santa hat is just ridiculous.
Yeah, oh my god, I
Uh,
didn't notice that.
it's like yeah, I only noticed that until now, and I've been watching series two since I was like what, not even a year old.
That's so strange. Why has he got a hat on? Surely that'd get like chopped off by the blades.
Yeah,
Wild.
I mean they could have like put it on him after he landed and Santa Claus came out.
Yeah. My question to you is this a good ending to season two in your opinion?
Um, yeah, honestly, like well. as a good like everyone comes together and celebrates a special event, yeah, I definitely do think it's a good season ender.
Yeah. The fact that Diesel's there, though, still wild to me. Is he gate
Yeah,
crashing? What's he doing there?
that's it. I honestly, I feel like a lot of the series two episodes could like be placed within like the season eight area because like we see like Diesel here, and in like Percy takes the plunge, and it's like why is Diesel in these two specific episodes?
Yeah, he's just, and Bill and Ben for Percy Takes the Plunge as well. Why are they there? I mean, obviously they
Oh,
fill the role of the mainland engines, but
yeah, well, like in terms of that one, like if you're going to introduce someone like before they're introduced, just not name them. Like I think that's what Dave Min did well with that one. Looking
yeah.
at you, Rocky.
All right, number 17 time. It is an episode that features Trevor the Traction Engine. It is Save from Scrap, 386 points. You had this in 23. Why did it end up so low for you?
Um, I think it's the same reason I have for cows. It's like I just put it there, but as I kept putting episodes in, it just kind of kept getting lower. It's a good episode. Trevor's a really good road vehicle. His theme is like very slow and jaunty and just a very nice tractory sort of theme. Um, I guess I guess the reason why plus not to mention uh like especially like in both the episode and in the railway version we get the name drop of Edward's driver, which is something that never usually happens. I'd say it's down at 23 mainly because like compared to like Bertie, he's not really like high on the list of my favorite road vehicles.
Yeah, I think he is sort of one of the weaker ones because his whole personality is liking kids. And I'm not here to say that's inherently wrong, but I'm just saying get some evidence, find the hard drive.
Yeah, when you're looking at the wrong context,
Yeah, when you it's just clipped out of context, placed in like in a different. It's weird, man.
yeah,
Oh
like much like what I did with Thomas and Trevor. I literally just took that George Carlin clip from the 18 plus clips.
yeah. All right. In this episode, we get to meet some human characters, as you said. Edward's driver. There's Jem Cole, the vicar of some place. I think it was Wellsworth or something. But my question to
Vicar
you
of
is,
Wellsworth, yeah.
yeah, vicar of Wellsworth. My question to you is, which human character is your favorite?
Um, I'd say I'd honestly say Jem Cole's my favorite. Simply because like for one, we get his like name drop multiple times, like even through some non Audrey stories like Elizabeth, the vintage lore in series six, where the Fat Controller goes to Jem Cole specifically, excuse me, specifically to restore Elizabeth, and I think even in some like hit era and CGI episodes, we get a name drop for Jem.
Yeah,
And it's like not knowing that like he's the go-to person for like vintage road vehicles is sort of a nice follow through for the entire show because like if I remember correctly, we only hear Jim Cole once in the books.
yeah. I think so. I don't think he's ever brought up again in the books. It's nice to know that throughout it all, throughout every era, throughout every piece of shit episode, we can rest easy knowing that Jem Cole still exists. Big up Jem
Yeah,
Cole. Now on to
yeah.
number 16. You're going to say something then?
Oh no no, go on.
Okay, number 16. This is one you had it in fifth place, so sorry about that. It is Dirty Work, 389 points on the board. Why is this episode so high for you?
Um. Okay. The reason why it's my number five is because of the fact that it's the villain wins trope. We get to see like Diesel's victory against Duck. Compared to Pop Goes the Diesel, where like Duck unintentionally pulled a prank. Granted, Duck did tell Diesel to not take those old trucks. He just didn't say anything at all. So it's like Diesel's hatred against Duck, whilst silly, is kind of understandable that Duck didn't show him the ropes of the yard. So I yes, it's Diesel's revenge plot is a bit like overdone, but the fact, but like again, much like with all the reasoning that's been given with the book version, Diesel wins in this episode, and we're left in suspension of what is Duck's fate.
Yeah, I think that sort of the character of Diesel is sort of the standout of Dirty Work. He is somehow managing to manipulate everyone apart from like the Topham Hatt, and I think that is just such a powerful aspect of that episode, that whole storyline, really for me. Um, as well as that, there is the insults he gives, which is sort of my question to you. Which of his insults is best? Galloping blue sausage, rusty red scrap iron, or old square wheels?
Um, I would go for galloping blue sausage, just because like we get rusty red scrap iron left, right, and center in like fan work. So it's like that's going old very quick. Old square wheels, I have a feeling there's a meaning behind it, but I just don't know what it is. Galloping blue sausage, on the other hand, that feels like it is directed squarely on Gordon,
Yeah, it doesn't feel like
and
there's nothing missing there. It's just what you look at. It's a galloping blue sausage.
that's it. For the longest, because I've in terms of CGI only characters, I am a bit of a Rebecca stan, and one of the future projects I'm working on has actually got Rebecca in place of Gordon.
Oh, interesting.
So my thoughts are, what are your thoughts on if Diesel called Rebecca a big yellow banana?
That's that's I like that insult. If we're going for a more manipulative Diesel, I don't know if that works. If we're going for CGI Diesel, that definitely works. Because the only thing with I feel like the manipulative Diesel is more eloquent. So to call someone a banana, I don't know. It feels like a
Well, I
very
mean, said Diesel's also calling someone a sausage.
that is true. He is doing it under the guise of duck calling them a sausage, though. So I if it's Diesel pretending that someone else said that, maybe that works in that sense. But I don't know, because to me that version of the version of Diesel we have in front of us, he's very well spoken, very eloquent, very up his own arse. So I think he'd be a bit more sort of well spoken with his insults. It
Yeah,
that's
that's fair enough.
that's the only thing. But
Well, do you think it'd be a good hit era Diesel remark?
yes, if it's hit error CGI, if it's any other pretty much place other than season two slash like season seven Diesel, I think it would work. So yeah, right, 15, number 15, is another Duck episode. It is his first ever episode. It's his introduction. It is Duck Takes Charge, getting into the 400 range with 402 points. You had this at 18th, round about the same placement on the list. Why is this episode at this point in the list for you?
Um, uh, I think honestly the main reason is because of Duck and Percy's plan against Gordon, Henry, and James. Because yeah, like they are dicks towards Percy and Duck, but what purpose does Percy and Duck sitting on the turntable serve to cause Gordon, Henry, and James to uh be looked down upon? Like yeah, it definitely got the Fat Controller out to like sort the argument out, but that it just felt like their plan was going a bit overboard. I know I was saying that with like Diesel and like how silly it was, and it's like my number five. But in terms of this one, there's like no like real menace in either Duck or Percy. It's just like them trying to prove that hey, they're just as good as the big engines, and it's like it's not really there's not really much weight in it.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking to the guy that put it in like 25th, so I get it. I
Oh,
completely get
really?
it. Yeah, my season 2 re-ranked, I put it in 25th. Do I still stand by that? A little bit, because I still think it's kind of weak. I don't like the fact that Duck sort of. It feels like a parallel to Trouble in the Shed to me, except now Percy is Edward and Duck is Percy, and I don't like the fact that Percy's just sort of done this weird character shift where he's a victim now. I want that Percy that was cheeky to them, that was literally earlier on in the season. I don't get why he suddenly reverted to being a victim. I feel like he has
Yeah,
more like strength than that. So that's a big part of why for me it just doesn't work very well.
that's fair. I'd say really the only I'd say the only two like good things about this episode is Duck himself and like how he portrays his character and his theme.
Yes, I agree. My question to you though is would you change anything about Duck's introduction?
No, honestly, because I'd say compared to how Percy was introduced versus how Duck was introduced, this was in terms of the Fat Controller, it's more well organized and like he actually had like plans to put Percy somewhere else, and because of that, he made sure to get a new engine as soon as possible. Whereas with the time between Thomas and Percy, it was like it was too far in between,
Yeah,
and so yeah, in terms of the Fat Controller's side on this episode, I feel like Duck's introduction is a lot more well what's the word I'm looking for? Um,
constructed.
well constructed. That's it.
Yeah. All right. Well, we are entering sort of the halfway mark now, in a sense. We are getting to number 14. It is one you put in 17th place. It is Percy's Predicament, 404 points on the board. Why is this episode at this point of the list, this sort of area of the list for you?
Ooh. So actually, just looking at my list, this is my least favorite crash.
Well, there goes my
Uh,
question. I was going to ask if it was Percy's best one, but
uh,
apparently not.
uh, um, actually, no, that's a lie. The other one is actually my least favorite.
The one
Well,
from.
out of the three of Percy's crashes, the other one's actually my. So this is actually my second favorite Percy crash.
Oh,
Um, well, in terms of series two, anyway.
yeah.
Um, I'd say I'd say what brings it down to 17 is the fact that like between the time of the narrator saying that Percy knew quite well knew how much of a predicament was, and then Thomas instantly coming back saying that was like a few days later, but Percy is still on that truck when Toby's taking him away.
Yeah. He's just been
So
stuck
so it's like
there.
has Percy really been on there for like at least half a week?
That it's very weird. I don't like the idea of that. He's just chilling there for ages. I mean, I know we've literally had engines like trapped in sheds for years,
and
but
and stuck in tunnels for like
yeah,
a few weeks. Um, but yeah, Percy and Toby's dynamic is good in this. The run, I'd say the Percy rendition of the Runaway theme in this is actually pretty good. Oh god, I remember when I was redoing this episode with the story for the Railway series, I had to continuously loop this theme, like continuously keeping the change key up and up and up until it actually got to the crash because there was so much dialogue.
Yeah. Oh.
Um,
Well, yeah. For me.
and
Oh, go on. No, no,
oh,
go
sorry,
on.
go ahead.
Okay, I'll go. I was just gonna say, for me, the best part of this episode is the inclusion of Daisy and how she is handled, and the fact that she actually sort of grows. What were you gonna say?
Um, I'd say, okay, going on to Daisy actually, I'd say without. I think the problem that I have with Daisy with Series 2 is that we don't actually have bullseyes for
Yeah.
Series 2. So I feel like we don't get to see her character growth properly until we get to Series 4.
Yeah, I think
And
that is a
so,
big misstep there, especially because they
and
had
so
Bluebell, so they could have reworked
that's
it.
it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, yeah, no, I just remember I was like, because like, you, did you actually watch that story?
Um.
Oh,
The
my video of
Oh,
it,
your
anyway.
video. I think so. Did I?
Cause I remember and like every time I keep going back to it, I was like, oh, I can just hear it. I continuously like how I did was like I continuously kept cutting those little bits out and just like up in the key change. But what I did was I clipped it either too early or too late, and so you can hear like a crash cymbal still
Oh.
as it kept going up.
Oh, okay. We're on to the top half of the list now. Number 13. You had this at number 16. It is Bertie's Chase, 410 points on the board. Why is it on the sort of the lower end of the list for you?
Um, but okay, so actually, funnily enough, for the longest time, it actually was like at the top, but then a lot of better episodes came in. I think what Bertie's Chase does well is like the fact that we see Bertie's side of Bertie's like dynamic of like the whole oh I need to get my passengers here on time. I think what brings I think honestly I think what brought it down to 16 was the fact that that Edward's train is almost at its final destination.
Yeah.
Because like in terms of the book version, it starts at Napa Junction, and then they get to Wellsworth Junction, and then that's where the story finishes.
Oh,
But
really?
with this one, yeah, I remember that specifically. But in terms of this one, it starts at Wellsworth, but then finishes at Upper Brendam, which is so close to Brendam, and it's like you could have just taken the passengers the rest of the way there.
Yeah, by that point, I mean, there was literally no point, really. You might
Yeah.
as well have just carried on. All right, my question to you is, this is sort of the only really uh, Bertie episode of sort of ever, I think. I don't think I'm missing anything apart from like Thomas and Bertie. My question to you is,
Really useful party kind of.
oh yeah, from series three, yeah.
Yeah.
But my question to you is this Bertie at his best?
Um, I honestly I'd say yes. Because well, maybe I don't know. Whilst Bertie is like one of my favorite road vehicles, it's kind of hard to like put his character down for a specific spot because it's how it went. It was kind of hey, let's have a race. Hey, I need to get my passengers to Edward before he leaves. Hey, I'm gonna mock this old character, much like pretty much a lot of other characters before Bertie. And then we don't really see him until like Series 6, and it's just for a cameo of like, hey, you want to race again? Oh, no, okay, bye.
Yeah, Thomas the Jet Engine.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think this is Bertie's strongest episode. I mean, he has determination at least to try and get the passengers to where they need to go, and I think that's a very admirable quality.
that is true, yes.
Number 12 is an episode that sort of contrasts a season one episode in terms of dynamic, but there are differences, there are similarities. They both contain a race. It is Percy and Harold, 416 points on the board. You had this at 19th, a whole 7 spots down the list. So why is it down that low for you? Is it because of Thomas and Bertie, or is it because of something else?
It is because of Thomas and Bertie. Like the difference between like Thomas and Bertie and Percy and Harold is that both in Thomas and Bertie, both parties were for a race, whereas with this one, it's like just Percy, and Harold was like, why is he speeding? Like why is he like going there? It's like it definitely looks like that both are in a race, but it's more or less just on Percy's side that it's like, hey, we're going to be racing to the wharf. And yeah, no, it's like, well, whilst yes, like Percy's like big moment of, hey, I'm going to prove to him that railways aren't slow, so I'm going to get to the wharf first. Like that's understandable, but if it's a race that only one person is saying yes to, then it's not really a race.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, for me, the thing is, Thomas and Bertie just feels a bit more evenly matched. I mean, it's a helicopter. Like, you know how fast those
That's
things
true.
go? And it's still lost. He was so much quicker, probably, and he's still lost. Who is this helicopter? Get him fired. My question to you is this episode superior to Thomas and Bertie?
No.
I would agree.
Good. Hang on. I'm actually. Hang on. If I'm oh no, it's still Percy and Harold for the US dub. Like I was thinking like, did they do like another weird like US dub title, much like what they did for a lot of Series One,
Yeah.
like with Thomas and Bertie's Great Race, calling it like Percy and Harold's Great Race, and I was like, oh no, it's just Percy and Harold.
Percy and Harold's carbon copy of an episode, except it
Yep.
features a helicopter. Yeah. I think this episode really needed Harold to win, in all honesty, because I think then it would have created enough of a difference in terms of like morals and how the episode ended to be
Yeah.
interesting and to see like an
And
actual difference.
not to mention like especially in book form, it would have been better for Harold to have won the race and him being all smug, but then in Percy's Promise, the story right after that, we see that hey, he's not as smug as we've led him to be.
Yeah, I think yeah, that is a good point actually. I don't like Harold. I think I've made a point of this before in literally every episode he's appeared in, but I think he's an asshole. I think he's a prick, and he needs to just shut up.
Yeah.
You can't even win.
I honestly think that Percy's Promise was the only time he's been likable.
Toby and the Flood. That was another one. I think.
Yeah, that's also true, but that's also a place of like, oh, everyone needs to help everyone sort of thing, but everyone's against each other.
Yeah. Okay, I can see what you mean. Also,
Because like we also have like James and the Trouble with Trees, where it's like Thomas normally is a prick, but
yeah,
instead he actually went to help James.
yeah. There was also a bad day for Harold the helicopter. The ending of that, I like that.
Yeah,
That's it. That's it for me. Can't stand him the rest of
that's
the
it.
time.
Yeah.
He's the worst. Can you just please go away? I don't like him. All right, number 11 time. We're getting very close to the top 10. I bet you are really wishing that this episode is the one you put in 26th.
I was hoping it was lower.
It's not even in this one. It's the
Wow.
deputation. I set you up there. I'm sorry, but yeah, the
No,
deputation.
you're all good.
465 points. Number 11. You put this in number 10, so relatively close.
Yep.
What about this episode makes it like a top 10 episode for you?
So the reason why it makes the top 10 is because I just love Don and Douglas. Like they're my favorite characters from series 2. But yeah, no, their commitment to getting work done, even with like trials and tribulations like against them. The fact that like the Fat Control has gone away to like without notice for Donald and Douglas. it's definitely a tense like moment for them, and I definitely love Percy's insecurities of like being forced to be the deputation. Sorry, the deputation. Sorry, the deputation. Wait, no, hang on. Wait. But yeah, no, like I definitely think that Percy was correct in his insecurity for being the deputation. Um,
I think
for
that that
to
moment really
yeah,
shows the great dynamics between the characters at that point. I mean, it really does feel like a real group of like people interacting almost. Like
that
I think that's a
that's
very
it.
good.
Yeah, and not to mention like by this point like we haven't even seen like the dynamic in TV form specifically, but especially in well aside from James, but the only like in the book form, like it's definitely shown that Gordon, Henry, and James have a lot of respect for Don and Douglas in just the one book.
Yeah.
Whereas with like other engines like Edward and Duck, where it took them like several books for the big engines to respect them.
Yeah, I can see what you mean there. My question to you is, and I've realised after writing this down that maybe this is a bit unfair considering like we work on locomotives, but is it Donald or Douglas for you?
Um, I'm still gonna have to go with my answer from your season one post review and say it's Douglas.
Oh, okay, interesting. Is that because he's got just like better episodes?
I'd have to say that, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but you pair up Escape
Not
and Donald stuff.
not to mention like out of the two twins, like he has the more episodes.
Yeah,
I think
I think so. I think you're right in that. I'm trying to do the math, but
because I remember Donald has more crashes. I think, but yeah, I'm fairly certain Douglas has more. Uh,
episodes. Yeah.
yeah.
My
It's very hard because the amount of solo episodes for them against the amount of twin episodes.
yeah. It's yeah. All right. Well, we are on to the top 10 now. And this episode for me, you put this in 7th. So, and I put this in like
Oh.
in 20th. So you're gonna I need convincing because apparently this is a very good episode. I don't see it. But it's Thomas Comes to Breakfast, 467 points. Why is this a top 10 episode? I really need to know this information.
Between this like big crash with Thomas, we don't get like another big crash until like a special letter, which goes to show that like this was like a big point in time for Thomas to realize that he's a bit of a fuck up.
Yeah.
Um, and so like because it's also shown like how badly damaged he got his front because of doing this crash. Um, and just by how annoyed everyone in the house is, which I feel like one of the kids should have gone run over.
Yeah. Oh God,
um,
Timmy, no, Timmy.
but yeah, no, and like not not to mention like just the music behind it. It's like it's so like tense, and it's like, oh God, it's like what's going to happen to Thomas, and it's like, oh God, is he gonna stop in time? No.
Yeah.
Um, and it's like because like not to mention it's like it's also my favorite version of the danger theme. Because it's like as I just mentioned, it's like it's so tense, and it's like it's the build up to the actual danger theme itself. It's like, oh God, is Thomas like what is going to happen? It's like uh we're following Thomas as he's slowly moving towards his demise. Um and uh I guess like towards the end when the Fat Controller is talking to Thomas about uh like whilst he's away at the works, like he's going to get a diesel like that. Like we like by this point we know from experience that hang on, diesels aren't very good. So it's like, again, for Thomas and us as the audience, it feels kind of nerve wracking for us that a diesel is going to be replacing Thomas. Like,
Yeah. Mm.
which sort. I kind of feel like the hit era undermined this sort of fact that, like, yeah, like we have a lot of steam engines doing Thomas's work instead, but we never get like outside of the Branchland engine saga, we never get any diesel engines taking over Thomas's job after Daisy, and it's like
Yeah, that's true.
it's like we never really get an episode after this that like leaves us on such a cliffhanger.
Yeah, I think so. Well,
Well, in series two anyway.
yeah, in series two, because I was gonna say, hold on, Grandpuff.
that there's
That's
a lot
just
of episodes afterwards. Yeah,
yeah.
definitely.
All right.
But yeah, no, series two specifically.
Yeah, series two, there's not another cliffhanger. If you could describe this episode in one word, what would it be?
Karma.
Yeah, interesting. Because of Thomas being conceited and then getting meeting his maker. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Well, is the station master Thomas's maker?
Maybe. Find out next week on Peter Sam's. I don't know. All right,
Something.
number nine, and we are here. We are at the one. You know which one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Here we go. Sound off. Just let it all out. I want to hear it.
Okay, so before I actually go into why this is number 26, I need to give a bit of context.
Okay.
So for the 40th anniversary this year, I'm going to be doing what I'm calling a week of Thomas, where I'm basically just going to have 7 episodes for the entire week, starting on the 9th.
Yeah.
One of the episodes is a full model series timeline using every single episode, excluding Jack and the Pack and Magic Railroad, where and just painstakingly just putting them in places that I feel like they'd fit better. And so pretty much how I did it was I went through each series,
Yeah.
seeing what episodes would fit better where, and just seeing like how, like after doing that, how well they'd fit together. I initially started on series 4 because there was a problem with the Stepney episodes in terms of the Australian release, which is also the same reason for the series 6 release. And so I was like, I'll start from series 1, but turns out there was nothing for series 1, so I started on series 2, which, as I mentioned, for Thomas, Percy, and Nicole, feels like it's better as like a finale story for Thomas specifically.
Yeah.
And so I was like, kind of went through all of the episodes to see what would fit better where. And I found that all of the Chris Audrey stories, excluding Christmas Tree because Christmas, all of the Chris Audrey stories actually has a place in series 2.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because as I mentioned with Thomas and Trevor, it's a good segue between Edward's episodes and Percy's episodes. Well, I asked the question, but I personally like the Runaway as the start for the Duck and Diesel engine saga. And if you take in order, Better Late Than Never, Ghost Train, Woolly Bear, and Thomas, Percy, and Nicole in that order, that would actually make its own saga, which I call Tank Engine Troubles.
Oh, okay. Right.
And so when I looked at everything in that order, I found that the only episode to not work in series 2 is this episode.
Wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And so I was like, when I was looking at a lot of the other episodes, because like this episode is obviously meant to be taking place after Percy's Promise, which we don't get until until series 3.
Yeah.
Um, and so that like don't get me wrong, Percy Takes the Plunge. It's a fine episode. Like Percy's accident with water and the trucks is once again on full display to show how idiotic Percy is. Um, but in terms of the episode itself, it doesn't feel like it actually should be a series 2 episode. Like if anything, I would much rather have Bullseyes as a series 2 episode than this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
Which
that
season would you put it
that
in instead?
um oh, I'd put it in series 4. Like
Okay.
just swap Bullseyes and Percy Takes the Plunge around.
Yeah. Okay, that's very interesting. I mean, that was a roller coaster ride. I was
Yeah.
very intrigued to see where that would go. All right, well, let's move on to number 8 now. You put this in 12th. It is Wrong Road, 494 points. What makes this a top 10 episode? Well, no, not a top 10 episode, but like a top half episode for you.
Top half, yeah. Ooh. Okay, so I'd say it Wrong Road is, hang on, where did I put number 12? So it's, I think where I put it, it definitely feels like a very middle of the road because like it does a lot of like interesting things, but at the same time, like it's beginning episode, it's like first. It's kind of weird to say it, but like the first like 20 or so seconds is basically a hit error beginner. It's like, hey, these characters do these things. Then we get to the actual episode.
Yeah.
um, but yeah, Gordon and Edward's dynamic. It's it's all right. Like I'd say honestly, I kind of agree with Unlucky Tug in saying that like they did the mainline engine saga a bit too early. But that being said, like I still like the episode. Edwin and Gordon's dynamic at the point of where it's at is definitely it's okay. I actually feel like this is sort of like I actually feel like Wrong Road should actually feel more like a episode that comes after Edward's exploit, because in this episode it's sort of like a oh, Gordon's like complaining to Edward rather than Gordon complaining at Edward.
Oh, okay. Is there any like part of this episode that like really stands out for you? Is there like a particular element that like really like catches your eye and is like, yes, that is the best definitive part of that episode?
Uh, Two things. One, the nighttime shot of Edward traveling over the viaduct, that looks really cool.
Yeah.
And Gordon's praisal of Boko is just kind of funny.
Yeah. That is, yeah, I'd have to agree there. All right. Well, we're on to number 7 now. And this is one you ranked in 15th place. Bit low.
Mm.
It is the episode that introduces us to 3 characters, 2 twins and a diesel. It is the Diseasel. Why is this episode more so in the middle of the list for you rather than at the top?
Um, pretty much the reason why it's like as low as it is because I'm not really a fan of Bill and Ben.
Oh, okay.
Like, because like, it's pretty much the same argument that everyone gives for the 2 Series 6 episodes being Twin Trouble and Buffer Bubbler. In that we're introduced to we've got like 2 twins in the one season,
Yeah.
and it's like one's definitely better over the other, and it's literally the same twins that are better over the other, being the Scottish twins are better over these 2 devils.
Yeah.
That being said, it's like it's still got like a lot of good elements. The Diesel song itself is uh just bloody hilarious.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, I don't mind Boko. But I definitely but again there's like definitely better like friendly diesels like Salty,
Yeah.
but definitely like better versions of like good diesel, bad diesel, mid diesel. sort of situations.
Yeah. Okay. So in regards to Bill and Ben and Boko, do you prefer Bill and Ben or do you prefer Boko?
Boko.
Yeah. Do you really don't like Bill and Ben? Wow.
Nah.
I'm surprised by that. I thought
Well, I mean, that being said, I do rank Bill and Ben well over Max and Monty any day.
oh God, yeah. I'm getting flashbacks to when he does that like spin round in Jack Jumps In.
Yep.
Okay, PTSD. Oh God, that was terrifying. Anyway, number six time, and this episode you had dead on the money. You had it in number six. It is the number six
Really?
episode. It is. Pop Goes the Diesel. 545 points on the board. What is it with this episode? Why is this a top 10 episode for you?
So pretty much the reason why it's why it's my number six is because um like again pretty much what I said in Dirty Work, that this is like Duck not being, oh well, continuing on from my talk in Dirty Work, it's like Duck not being like trusting of the new engine, the Diesel like boasting about like how he's revolutionary, and how diesels are going to be taking over the railway, and yeah, then his comeuppance being that like he takes the wrong line of trucks, and like Duck just does nothing to help the new Revo, whatever it is he said. Um and yeah, no, it's, and even the song afterwards, it's like it's definitely a good rendition of a song that's come up. Like it's honestly like this version of the song is like Pop Goes the Diesel variant is actually a better written version over Pop Goes Old Ollie.
Yeah, the Oliver based one.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'd say yeah, Pop Goes the Diesel song for
yeah.
me is better as well, I
Like
think.
Michael Angelis definitely sings like that series 4 version like definitely better than Ringo, but I
Yeah,
like how this one's worded is definitely better.
yeah, the lyrics are stronger, definitely.
Yeah.
Is Diesel the best diesel engine character in the franchise for you?
I would have to say, oh, that's actually a good question, because in terms of character, okay, in terms of diesel engines, there's definitely like a lot of others like better than diesel, like Mavis, Salty,
Yeah,
um, and
Rusty.
uh, eh, Rusty's kind of mid, honestly.
F in the chat for Rusty.
Because like the what I can't remember who posted it, but someone said that like in the books, like because Rusty was introduced before Boko, Boko was sort of made like kind of mid in the books. Here it's kind of actually like a role reversal. Like because we've already been introduced to Boko, Rusty is like kind of mid.
Oh, okay.
Um, but in terms of character wise, yeah, I'd say Diesel is definitely the best, because like and actually, funnily enough, in terms of both the Model Series timeline and the CGI timeline, we actually get to see like two different perspectives on Diesel.
Yeah, we because I'm thinking now like the springtime for Diesel episode. That's definitely an episode for Diesel getting a lot of growth.
Yeah, yeah, and like not just like that one episode, but like the entire CGI timeline. We get to like look into Diesel's character a lot more.
Yeah,
Whereas with like the model series, we're always seeing it from the steam engine's perspective.
yeah. Again, Diesel and the Ducklings, another one. That one where he's like taught causing things between Harvey and Daisy. That one.
Yep.
There's a lot of them. But yeah, I think I'd have to agree. I think Diesel simultaneously doesn't change, which is good, and changes, which is also good. So I think the
Yeah.
balance works almost. Um, but yeah, all right, on to the top five now. In fifth place, we have an episode you ranked in 11th. It is an episode that features Donald and Douglas. It is Break Van, 559 points. What is this? What is it about this episode for you that you like? I guess.
Well, Donald and Douglas, obviously.
Of course.
Like their determination, like how they'll always like back each other up. Their like theme is just like very catchy, and it's like very true to their character. Um, and the fact that like even after Douglas sort of teasing James, James still asks for Douglas's help to like get up the hill.
Yeah.
I think what stops it from being in the top 10 for me is the fact that it's like is pretty much the beginning bit, because it's like it's sort of like a combination of Hello Twins, Missing Coach, and Breakman.
Yeah, they just spawn in. It's like, oh, okay.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, all right. Well, as you know, there are two crashes in Break Van. There's the Donald one, the Douglas one. Which is better for you?
I would have to go Douglas.
Yeah,
Yeah,
nothing
which is
quite like
which if
good
I'm
old murder.
which might be the second crash I'm thinking of.
The second,
The Douglas thing.
yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. My question is, for okay, okay, so obviously like everyone knows that Missing Coach never got through. What would you think if Middle Engine took that role?
Is in like Middle Engines in season 2, and you replace
Uh,
Percy and James with Donald and Douglas.
Pretty much.
Okay. Hmm. It's a thing of would we have, because there's still elements in there that had their characters been swapped, I would still not like it because of the Ari and Bert thing, the Henry thing, the Sir Topham Hatt thing. There's a lot of things there that are bad and make it the worst classic episode. So I don't know if
Are you mixing up Middle Engine for Twin Trouble? No, I mixed up Middle Engine for
yeah.
Twin Trouble. I'm an idiot.
Did you
So,
read Twin
sorry,
Trouble?
sorry. What would you rather Twin Trouble in replacement of Missing Coach?
Oh, maybe because the plot is less confusing, and therefore, I think that it might work better. To be fair, I think most things would be less confusing than Missing Coach. So
That's it. Yeah.
I'll say yes. Twin Trouble, yes, would work better than the Missing Coach if it was in
Yeah.
season
So pretty much do like what it was initially gonna do. Combine Hello Twins and put it in front of Twin Trouble.
Yes, I think that would be a good idea. Someone needs to make that.
Yeah. If anyone's watching, get to it.
I'm looking at all of you. Every single one of you. You don't think I am, but I am. I have cameras everywhere. That was scary.
You're Santa Claus.
I am Santa. Peter Santa. The narrow gauge claws. Alright, well, we're moving on to the top 4. These 4 episodes that we're about to talk about now, they were leagues ahead of everything else in the list, and they were all fighting for the top spot. The one in number 4 never actually managed to reach number 1 at any point when I was tallying up the points, but it's still a great episode. It's Ghost Train, 703 points. Ghost Train as the first spooky episode. What does it do right for you? What does it do wrong for you? Is there anything that stands out for you?
It pretty much just like does like as a spooky episode, it just does everything right. Like the Ghost Train theme, the spooky story behind it, Thomas's dynamic with Percy and Toby. Granted, again, the same the same situation with Thomas and Trevor. He should have had a different face. But yeah, no, like I'd say I'd say out of everything, I think the only fixes it would need would be again Thomas's face at the beginning of the episode, and actually the lighting in the quarry. Like, if I remember correctly, it was initially more darker.
Yeah, I think so.
So, yeah, I'd say that those would granted those are like minor nitpicks, but yeah, Ghost Train, whilst it's my number three, it like the two that I have above it just beat it by a long shot.
Yeah. Is this the best spooky episode of the entire franchise for you?
I would say yes, because I actually okay. I only ever had one Series 5 episode growing up, and it was none of like the high end stuff. Like it was what was it? Make someone happy.
That's a great one. I quite like that one.
It is, and unfortunately, that was my set standard for Series 5.
Yeah. And then you watched
So
it, and then you got traumatized.
yeah, I mean, I was also, I believe, I was 18 when I first watched
Oh, okay.
the full Series 5. So yeah, I got introduced to Duncan Gets Spooked there. But yeah, no, like Ghost Train, compared to Duncan Gets Spooked, it this episode is like yards better because yeah, no, it just does a lot of things right, and like especially with like a lot of the fan dubs of this story. I remember one where I was like just those 2D sprites going along, and like at the end of the episode, it shows like an image of like Jeffries.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, whoa, hang on, is there an actual ghost?
Yeah. Um,
um.
yeah, the way I describe this episode is a comedic episode with spooky elements because I think the funny shit sort of takes precedence over the spooky stuff in a way. I mean, there are some great sets, but I feel like narratively because it's a trick, I feel like and we're seeing it from Percy's point of view. I feel like it's more of just like a comedy rather than spooky. I mean, there is that bit at the beginning, and that bit is kind of terrifying. But
I
outside of that, do you kind of see what I mean?
I not really. Like there were only like two bits that I saw as like, huh, that could be a bit funny. Like those being Percy's driver telling him that, oh, it wasn't an actual ghost, it was just on television. I was like, okay, yeah, that is pretty funny. Sorry, Percy, for being a letdown. And then at the end where Thomas is like, oh, sorry, got to see a coach about a train.
Yeah, but
Like that was definitely a good comeuppance for Thomas, and got a definitely would give a good chuckle, but I wouldn't really call it comedic.
okay,
Like
interesting.
like if it's meant to be like the first spooky episode, I wouldn't really consider any comedy to be a part of it.
Yeah. All right, number three now, and you have this at number two. A close shave. 714 points on the
Wow.
board. It was at number one a fair few bit of the way when I was tallying up the points. Is this Duck's best episode in your opinion, and what makes it that if it is?
So in terms of series two, I definitely say this is like Duck's best episode because like this is like his redemption episode. Even even though what's ironic about it is that he doesn't save anything at all. Like he definitely stops the runaway train from killing people, but like it in the end, like he doesn't he still doesn't technically win. Like it's
Yeah,
uh
he still causes
it's
damage.
more on like it's still like a really good like runaway scene. Like I'd say it's on par with the Thomas comes to breakfast while when he's like traveling to the station master's house. But I think what this does better is like the fact that it's like a majority of the episode plus how Mike and Junior did the runaway theme. just made it that much more tense. And again, the fact that Duck technically doesn't win by stopping the trucks, um, like it just makes it like so much more like heart racing. That makes it feel like it's like Duck did not win it. Like it feels like up until the Fat Controller says that, oh no, I sent Diesel away. It makes you feel like, oh, is the Fat Controller going to send Duck away?
Yeah, interesting. I think that is sort of the one point of the episode. Diesel's comeuppance is sort of like in not like on screen, and I kind of wanted that satisfaction of seeing him get kicked off, even if it was just a single shot of him rolling away into the sunset to be killed. I just
or just like the coupling snap between the trucks and it just falls off the edge into a barge.
Yeah, gets that season 6 treatment.
Yep.
Yeah,
that actually could like that honestly could be the reason why, like if World's Strongest was a series 2 episode.
This is true. Yeah, I think that would maybe work. I think so. If you changed a bit of the intro,
if you rewrite it carefully enough, it could work.
I think it would work very well. For me, I think this might actually be Duck's best episode like ever. I can't think of another episode really where I'm like, oh yes, Duck is great.
Well, I personally I'm a sucker for series 3, and I think all at sea is like Duck's like best episode ever.
Oh,
but in terms of series 2, this is Duck's best episode.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're at the final 2 now. The final 2 episodes. One you put in first, and one you put in fourth. There is no pressure at all. Just quickly before we go on to what number 2 is, what do you think's at number 1?
In number 1, I'm expecting Edward's exploit.
Okay. In number 2, with I think it was 718 points, it is Edward's exploit. It was 722. I tell you something, it was at the top for so long, and then like 5 people in a row put it in like 7th. So it got knocked down, and it ended up here. I mean, there was a point where this one and the first place pick were tied, and I thought the tie was never going to break because they just kept coming back into a tie. But in the end, this is what ended up as second. Why is it the best episode of series 2 for you?
Okay, so again, going back to what I talked about in Percy Takes the Plunge with rearranging everything, this honestly would be awesome as the spiritual finale, much like how Off the Rails was in Series 1. This would have been a good spiritual finale before we got the Christmas episode.
Yeah.
Because, I'm pretty sure everyone's in agreement, like, even before the Series 2 retrospective came out, that Edward pretty much owned Series 2. And it's like, with Edward's exploit, yes, it's not as good as the book version. It still holds on to those beats very well, and it still shows like Edward's triumph to get the train home and just be the hero that everyone needs to see hero Edward as.
Yeah, I think there's like a point that someone made about this episode. I can't remember if it was on Lucky Tug or not, but he said that the sky in the background is the exact same, but it's because of the lighting that makes it look like it's stormy. And I think that is just a great use of lighting. I love lighting in like season 2. I think the lighting, when I rewatched it for this video, I think it was sort of the best part of the season because they do so well with it.
That being said, if I remember correctly, the original version actually had it a bit darker, which made it like feel a lot more like tense because like it felt like it was like closer to nighttime. It was like much more like stormy because of that.
Yeah, I think the original version probably would have been better then because it was. Yeah. I think that the lighting just helped so much there. My question to you, Suarez, is: do you prefer the Railway series story or the TV series adaptation of this episode?
As much as I love the episode, I would have to go for the story because like it actually showed like with the amount of context it has, like with Edward's like boiler actually being cracked, both his side rods being taken off, not just one side, and like the fact that there were more coaches, and the fact that they were like bogey coaches, not like single wheel coaches behind Edward, just makes the Railway Series version more dire than what the TV series was able to do.
Yeah, I have to agree. I think that, you know, just for the simple fact that that crank the coupling rod just like stabs him in the side.
Yeah,
I think that
like
just
his own machinery just like stabbed himself in the boiler.
yeah, like I think that's so much more powerful than what happened here.
Yeah.
All right. Well, all we've got left to talk about now is number one. Are you disappointed that it wasn't first? This one.
Yeah, honestly, I'm both surprised and disappointed that this didn't get first. Because who, what, how many people actually like put number one over Edward's exploit?
Um, well, I know Rob the Green Engine did because we agree on the fact that this is that our favorite season two episode. I think there was a fair few. There was at least like five that put it like in first. So that I can recall, I remember seeing it a lot in first. There were a few that put all top three in like 15th and 14th. So that sort of made the waters muddier. It was only a 2 point difference though. 724 points. It was very, very close. But in the end, Old Iron, you put this in fourth. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So I I'd say so pretty much the reason why I put Edward's exploit over Old Iron. Well, not that Old Iron's bad. Like again, as mentioned, I had it in fourth. Is that like we don't see like any other episodes afterwards after Edward's exploit, so we don't know how long Edward's been out of the game between Edward's exploit and missing Christmas tree. Um, Whereas with Old Iron, like all the beats are amazing. James's character, the James and Edwards dynamic. I think this is like the first time we ever see this dynamic kick off, and then we don't see much of it until like the hit era, where like James is being like bashful against Edward about like him being so old and weak. I think like the reason why like this is well the obvious reason why this is so much better than all the hit era ones is because Edward just like takes it on the chin and just laughs it off.
Yeah.
And like the fact that like Thomas and Percy come to Edward's defense saying that like, hey, he's still like useful and all that. And like the situation into behind like how James became the runaway is like done pretty well and like kind of makes some sense. And like Edward coming to James's rescue with the inspector on the shunter's pole, that was like really good, and the chase scene and like everything about Old Iron is good. But I think what puts this below Edward's exploit for me is the fact that like literally the episode after this, we see like Edward back in like tip top form. Like there's no implied gap in time between Old Iron because like if the Fat Controller mentioned that he was going to send Edward to the works to get all of his worn parts mended.
Yeah.
But then like straight after this, Edward looks like he's in top health condition, and it's like, well, how much time has Edward been in the works?
Yeah, and if this was like chronological, because in the Railway series that leads into Four Little Engines,
Yes.
but here we don't have that, so it just sort of skips it, and all of a sudden Edward's back and he's fine. I mean, I still think it's my personal favorite of season two. I think the runaway is so well done. I love that shot of just the inspector dangling off with that like rope. I think
Yeah.
that's like a really cool moment, like something
Like,
almost out of an action movie.
honestly, the inspector is the real MVP in this series.
Absolutely, he just like he stopped Edward,
Two
he stopped
runaways.
James, he stopped Thomas. He's doing it all. He's stopping all the engines. What a lad! Um, this question doesn't actually work anymore because you said you prefer Edward's exploit. But is this Edward's second best episode?
Um, I would have to say yes in terms of series two.
Yeah. What other episode outside of series two is better than Old Iron, in your opinion?
Um, that hang on, just trying to remember which Edward episodes there are.
Old
um,
Reliable Edward, Edward's Brass Band,
I would
PA Problems.
okay. This is honestly, this is gonna be a weird one, but Edward and the Mail.
Oh, 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 okay.
Yeah,
Oh, interesting.
because like yes, obviously like it is the hit era. They're gonna portray Edward as like old and weak and yada yada yada.
Yeah,
But in terms of like in terms of this episode in particular, Edward's in fine condition. Like by this point, like he's already had like a poster of him like all across Sodor, making him like quite famous. So it's like this episode kind of like Edward and the Mail kind of like tugs on like the insecurity of like someone who initially isn't really famous, but then after like such good deeds, like again with Edward's exploit, and like even after James the Second Best, it's kind of put like this nothing character onto a podium that he didn't want to be on, and so because of that, like he has this like popularity insecurity,
yeah. Oh,
and so like not normally like yeah he'd be fine with taking the mail, but like in terms of like this instant, like his insecurity is getting the better of him.
okay. Well, that is the end. We've reached the end of another viewer ranking. It's been a pleasure. Suarez, just to close this out, what's your overall opinions on season two, and what picks surprised you as to where they ended up on the list?
Um, so it's sort of weird because like series two is definitely like one of my top three favorites of the classic era, but at the same time, it feels like it does a lot of things, but not much at the same time.
Yeah,
Um, uh, and it's like it's definitely a good series with a lot of like really good character development. But there's definitely a lot of like other seasons that feel like it's does more better than this.
yeah. I think on my most recent rewatch that I did for this video, I've learned to appreciate season two a bit more than I did before, which is always good. Yeah,
Yeah.
but as far as like picks and episodes, do you have any that think that you thought, wow, why did that end up there?
Well, as we just saw, Old Iron
Yeah,
being number one definitely took me off guard. But after like your like everything that was talked about, it makes sense why a lot of people see it as their favorite. Um, I did not expect Percy Takes the Plunge to be in the top 10. Like I was expecting it to be in like top half,
yeah,
like 13 to 11 at best. Like I like hoping that like my ranking of it being number 26 would drop it by a significant amount. Um, but yeah, no. There was some like Better Late Than Never, Ghost Train, Willie Bear, Close Shave, and Order, and like they all make sense for
yeah,
like where they were placed. I'd say the only other one that took me a little off guard, but I can see why was Dirty Work.
yeah. Because that was why was that? I forgot. It was lower
That
down.
was number five for me.
Yeah, that was number five for you, but it was in like 16th or something. Yeah,
It was towards the top of the bottom half. Yeah,
yeah. All right. Well, that is it. Until next time, and until the next time I see you, whenever. I've been Peter
which will
Sam.
probably be the next episode. Yeah.
Yeah, check out Locomotives, episode 16, Confessions. It'll surprise you. I've been Peter Sam, you've been you, and big up my guy, the Inspector, because he's been doing work very well recently. I don't know where I'm going with this. I always have a plan for what stupid shit I'm going to say at the end, and when I wing it, it doesn't work. I don't know why I do this to
No.
myself.